Hey everybody, my name is Paul and I am extremely excited to talk about one of my favorite plates today, and that is the Indo Australian plate. So let's jump right in. First of all, before we talk about the plate, let's kind of figure out and talk about where the plate is. So the Indo Australian plate, the name gives a lot away, but it is located in a vast region spreading from India all the way to the shore of New Zealand and covering the entire Australian continent. it, I'll talk briefly about what plates it borders, just so we kind of get an idea of where it is. But we'll talk about the actual boundaries in a second here. So it borders on the eastern side the Pacific Plate at New Zealand and Pacific Ocean water area. The Pacific Plate boundary also continues over on the northeastern side before the Eurasian Plate takes over, and we have boundary with the Eurasian Plate all throughout the rest of the northern region of our plate, which is all the way to India. Then the western border is shared with parts of both the Arabian plates and the African plates, and then the southern border is shared with the mighty Antarctic plate. To summarize, we're talking about an area that covers Australia, the Indian subcontinent, and large parts of the Indian Ocean. So now we know where we're talking about. So let's dive into what actual plate boundaries we have. So to start off, we have a convergent boundary with the Pacific Plate over on the east. So here, the denser, the older Pacific Ocean crust is subducted under the Indo-Australian Plate. We also have various fracture zones and transform faults in the region, but especially near New Zealand. But predominantly, and especially north of New Zealand, we're gonna get subduction and the creation of island arcs. So we'll talk about those in a little bit. But yeah, there's subduction there, and that subduction actually runs as the Pacific shared area continues. We'll get subduction throughout the northern region, all the way up to where we get continent-continent conversion by India. Then we're going to get divergent boundaries over on the west with the Arabian and the African plates, and divergent boundaries with the Antarctic, making that mid-ocean ridge system in the Indian Ocean. So we really have a bunch where we got subduction, we got convergent on the north mainly, and east, and then the west, and especially the south, we have divergent. So plate movement of the past, obviously there used to just be one landmass, Pangea. Since then, lots of motion has occurred. The Indo-Australian plate was a big player in that motion. It moved north at varying speeds, quicker more in the east, a little bit slower up in the north where India is, but nevertheless was moving relatively fast, especially if you compare it to, the spreading rates over at the Atlantic. We're moving pretty quickly, up to 10 centimeters a year, or even a little bit more at some points. So yeah, moving north, Australia and that area is going to keep moving north. The Southern Ocean is going to continue to expand, we believe. The Indian and Australian plates actually kind of were two separate plates at one point. They came together, and some scientists and geologists and oceanographers actually kind of consider them separate plates. They could be looked at separately, but we're obviously looking at it as many scientists do it as one large plate. But yeah, at some point they were separate, but they're moving north. That's the big thing. We used to be connected to Antarctica. Now we're moving north and getting farther and farther away from Antarctica. That's a general plate movement of the past, and probably of the future too. We really don't know for sure. And to wrap this thing up, interesting geological features. The subduction zone with the Pacific gives us the wonderful Tonga and Kermadec trenches and island arcs north of beautiful New Zealand. So this is absolutely beautiful. Tropical islands. We got the island of Fiji here. So if you think about the image of Fiji in your head, absolute beauty that comes from the subduction, that comes from the melting of oceanic crust. That same melting, that same subduction in the northern parts with our Eurasian and Pacific plates in the Indonesian area gives us the amazing Indonesian islands with towering, beautiful, yet pretty explosive and pretty dangerous volcanoes as well. The divergent boundary along the west and the east is giving us some, a nice mid-ocean ridge system, which obviously we really don't see that from the surface, of course. But the big one, the main event the main event when it comes to geological features. It's got to be our continent-to-continent boundary up in India at the northern part with the Eurasian plate, in which nobody's subducting because we got two continents coming together. Remember they're not dense enough. Nobody's gonna subduct. They're gonna crash and build up, and that's where we get the mighty Himalayas and the towering and beautiful Mount Everest. So, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, the Indo Australian plate is one spectacular plate. Thank you. Have a great day.